If you're an entrepreneur and you want to make it big in 2021, the following series are my 10 New Year's resolutions that I've built into my business and life that I'm going to recommend you build into your business and life if you want to become the go-to brand in your industry, if you want to accelerate the growth of your business, and if you want to escape the time trap so you can spend more time doing what you love with the people that you love. 2020 has obviously taught us a lot of lessons, and I think we all want to be able to move on and work out how do we take those lessons to the next level, and that's exactly what this series is about. So the first New Year's resolution, if you want to make it big in 2021, is this: spend more time working on your business than in your business. Now, this is a cliche, I know, but my problem was I spent the first 10 years of my business career hearing that saying over and over and over. I want to spend more time working on my business, not in the business. I'm stuck working in the business. I want to be on the business. That was all well and good, but I never had a very clear pathway to exactly what I needed to be focusing on to do that. And so I got better at sales, I got better at marketing, I got better at operations and HR, and I learned how to manage team, and I became a manager, and then I became a CEO and a managing director, and I'm kind of involved, and yet I still felt like I was continually being sucked into the machinations of the business. I couldn't seem to find my focus for how I could escape so I could work on my business, not in my business. I couldn't really even define what working on my business would mean. So in this video, I'm going to talk about the 3 things to focus on. I'm going to talk about the 5 ways to maximize your value, and I'm going to talk about the 2 mechanisms for leveraging that value. And I think value is an interesting word, right? Because if we step back and we look at how we get stuck in the business, a big part of it is misunderstanding what creates value in the first place. First of all, I'm assuming that you've got some traction in terms of what you do. You've got skills, you've got talents, you've got expertise, you've got a business, you've probably got a small team, whatever the case may be. And usually, certainly when I was in that position, my mindset was what creates value is my product or my service and the way in which I interface with our clients and the good work that we do. Now, of course, that's true, that's important, but that's one layer of value. What I wasn't valuing was me. I wasn't valuing the power of my brand, my reputation, my message, my ability to influence. I kind of thought of this idea of personal branding as this kind of self-centered veneer that was reserved for the narcissists that wanted to be kind of celebrated for their heroism in business. I'm like, I didn't want any part of that. And yet the more I ignored that, the more I got sucked into the actual business because there wasn't anything better for me to do. And I see this as really common. A lot of businesses are focusing on creating a faceless brand, a faceless product or a faceless service, because the perception is that it's the product or the service that holds all the value. But if you would look at Richard Branson's following on Twitter versus Virgin's following on Twitter, or Elon Musk's following on Twitter versus Tesla's following on Twitter, you start to see that people attract the attention of people far more than pretty logos or corporate branding, because people buy from people. We want to buy from people that we know, like, and trust. And that's when I began to realize that there was a hidden role in the organizational chart. We call that role the key person of influence. The 3 things to focus on to make sure that you're creating more value in that role than you could anywhere else in your business is the V3, is focusing on developing and communicating your vision, your values, and your value proposition. Now, of course, your vision is where do you want to go this quarter, this year, this decade. It's your vision for the future. It's the vision not just for your life, not just for your organization, but what do you want to do for your clients? What do you want to do for your market? What do you want to do for your industry? Your values are who you and the people in your organization are going to be. It's how you're going to roll on the journey. What are you going to stand for? What are you going to stand against? What are the values that are going to drive that vision? And finally, your value proposition. Your value proposition is all about why should somebody choose to invest their time, money, and energy in working with you over your competition. Now that could be clients. Why should they work with you? It could be employees. Why should they choose to work with your organization over somewhere else? So for me, when I started focusing on those three things, really seriously focusing on communicating my vision, my values, and my value proposition, all of a sudden, I started to become more valuable out of my business than in my business. So I understand that those three focuses can be a little abstract. So let me then transition into the 5 key value drivers that will bring those three focuses to life. And these are the core insights inside the Key Person of Influence book. So the 5 value drivers that I found that if I focus on those things, again, I become more valuable out of my business than in my business, is having a great pitch. If you can't communicate your value, if I couldn't communicate my value effectively and at scale, well then it's very easy for me to get sucked back into the noise of my business. So pitching is essential. The second is publishing thought leadership. So I would spend a lot of time in sales, communicating the ideas that would generate demand and get people interested in our product and service. And what I realized is that when I started to publish thought leadership content in books, blogs, articles, whatever it is, well, all of a sudden the same ideas that would change the way people would think one-to-one when I'm talking to them in a conversation, I could start to change the way people think one-to-many. So that publishing step was huge. And the next is about creating products. So realizing that me selling my time was very limited, right? So the idea of having a great pitch, publishing thought leadership leads to this idea that we can move away from just selling our time and we can create a product ecosystem that creates so much more value. Now, again, focusing on what that product ecosystem should be, how that links to the published content, how that links to the pitch. This is all the highest value stuff that you as the founder should be focusing on. You can't hire that in a small business. Like maybe when you're Google or you're Apple, of course, you can hire incredible talent. You can pay them millions of dollars a year and they're going to come up with genius. But at this point in my entrepreneur journey, this point in your entrepreneurial journey, that responsibility was mine. Then there's profile. Once you've got pitch, publish, and product dialed in, it's how do you get known at scale for that? How do you get your reputation to precede you? And finally, partnerships is about creating alliances and partnerships with the existing key people of influence, with the existing key brands in your industry. So you as the founder in this role, if you had a position description, it would say focus. You're focusing on communicating your vision, your values, and your value proposition. Then it would say to maximize the value of your V3, you would focus on your pitch, publish content, creating products, raising your profile, and doing partnerships. And finally, to leverage not just your V3, but the 5 Ps as well, is to leverage that through media and technology. So to make sure that you're looking at your pitch in the context of how do we leverage that through media? Now, media is just anything that people can watch or read or listen or do. Digital media that stands the test of time. The cool thing about media is if I post a video or an article tomorrow on the internet, it's going to be instantly available in New York and Buenos Aires. If my daughter decides to want to look me up and Google me in 20 years' time, what I post today or tomorrow is going to be of exactly the same quality. There's going to be no degradation whatsoever in 20 years' time. That's a pretty incredible thing when you think about it, that you can produce a product, you can produce a bit of media that is available instantly anywhere in the world and will last effectively forever with no degradation or no wear and tear. So that's an incredibly valuable piece to leverage your time and your value, allowing you to reach far more people. And of course, leveraging technology, using systems, processes, and digital tools to again be able to leverage not just your time, but the time of your team. So you can start getting a lot more done in a lot less time. And that's one of the big things that I'm going to be focusing on by going through these 10 New Year's resolutions. It's how do you reclaim your time? It's how do you leverage your value? It's how do you make more of a dent in the universe? How do you create more of an impact? And it starts with realizing that to spend more time working on your business, not in your business, requires you to lead from the front. It requires you to communicate the vision, the values, and the value proposition. I mean, from my perspective, that's the fun stuff. It requires you to refine your pitch, to develop published content, to create great products, to get known for those products in the media, and to partner with some of the coolest people in your industry doing some of the coolest stuff. I mean, it doesn't get better than that in my mind in terms of that role. Yeah, and you'll hear people say, oh, but I'm an introvert and I want to build my business to sell, so I've got to be unknown. I mean, do you think Tesla's not valuable because Elon Musk is known? You know, he's an introvert. Do you think Virgin is less valuable because Branson's well known? I mean, the thing about this is that the value of your business is not built around whether or not you have a personal brand or a reputation or a founder's brand or not. It talks to the quality of the assets and the infrastructure that allow the business to run without you. So if you resonate with the idea of spending more time working on the business and less time in the business, the New Year's Eve resolution number 1 is map out the next 12 months and commit that you're going to spend more time working on your vision, values, and value proposition, the V3, your pitch, publish, product, profile, and partnerships, your 5 Ps, and leveraging it through media and technology. You're going to spend more time doing that than you are anything else. More than you're doing sales, more than you're doing marketing, more than you're doing delivery, mate, more than you're doing client relationships or follow-ups. Don't get me wrong, all that stuff's got to happen. But by going through these 9 New Year's resolutions, we're also going to discover how to take the entrepreneur's bet so you can make more money doing those things than it costs to delegate everything else. So I invite you, check out makeitbig2021.com where you'll find the rest of these videos if you're watching this after the series has been finished. I'd also encourage you, let me know in the chat any questions you've got about anything that we've covered in this or any of the other videos. I'm going to be doing a parallel Ask Glenn Q&A series in the context of Making It Big 2021. I hope you've found this to be useful. I hope you've taken some notes. Keep your notebook ready. Stay tuned for New Year's resolution number 2, which is all going to be about hiring team. My name's Glenn Carlson. I'm here to help you make it big in 2021. And all you got to do is be brave, have fun, and make a dent in the universe.